Underwhelming is not a term I would use in regards to Square Enix's event. However, if you were watching it live with me and everyone else, you'll see that the comment section in the live chat was full of people saying that it sucked and that it was boring, and even media outlets are already reporting that it was an underwhelming event that Square Enix gave us. I would have to disagree. There were a couple missteps, like we saw absolutely nothing Final Fantasy, still no Final Fantasy VII, and while there is hope that we may see some Final Fantasy action in Sony's event, there were still some missteps made in this Square Enix event, in my opinion. For starters, when the whole thing started, they said, stick around to the ending, which, you know, always gets you excited. Stick around to the ending, see that Final Fantasy VII remake. Instead, they ended on the exact same trailer for Kingdom Hearts 3 that we already saw in Microsoft's event. The same trailer that, trust me, every Kingdom Hearts fan has already seen. It's already blown up around the internet. It was sticking around to the end to see that wasn't very exciting. Also, the event was only 30 minutes, and while I personally don't mind, they crammed in all the trailers. It was awesome. It was a jam-packed 30 minutes, then they ended it, they went home. But making it only 30 minutes is something that you're gonna hear about online. It was only 30 minutes. Square Enix's event was only 30 minutes. They could have dragged it out a little bit, made it 40, 45 minutes with a little bit more hype, a little bit more talking, a little bit more in between. It was just so dry. And again, that would be fine if it was a jam-packed 30 minutes full of awesomeness, but the last misstep, in my opinion, was as great as it was seeing a lot of these games already in Microsoft's event, it took a lot of the punch out of Square Enix's event. When you show the exact same trailer for Kingdom Hearts 3 and nothing else, something we were so excited to see at this E3, it's like, we saw this already. When you show Just Cause 4 again, yeah, it was a little bit more. We've already seen that in Microsoft's event. You started with Tomb Raider, something that again we saw in this entire event we already saw. I will say there was gameplay of Tomb Raider, and while a lot of people again were saying it was boring, people are so hard to please. When I was watching the stream, I actually thought it was pretty great. They dived into the gameplay mechanics some more. You know that this game's gonna be heavy action. You know it's gonna be falling and crashing and explosions. You know that already. So if they just showed us that, it would be like, okay, another Tomb Raider game. What they did is they slowed it down and they took the time to flesh out all the new gameplay mechanics and all the new stealth options that are available to you, and it actually looked really great. So while it was a slower part of the game they showed us, they did it intentionally to highlight those new mechanics. Final Fantasy XIV, A Realm Reborn, their MMORPG, received a new trailer exploring a giant patch that's coming, adding new missions and narratives. It's called Under the Moonlight, so if you're a fan of their online game, get excited for that. And then something really interesting was a Final Fantasy XIV and Monster Hunter World crossover, set to debut in summer of 2018, which is really interesting since Monster Hunter World is obviously Capcom. Seeing that crossover was surprising. And what I get from that is those monsters, those giant monsters and the Palicos, if that's how you pronounce it, maybe some extra features are coming into the Final Fantasy Online world, so you can go into raids and take down these massive dragons, which for you Final Fantasy Online players, that's got to be pretty exciting. And something else they already showed us in Microsoft's event was the adventures of Captain Spirit, the new Life is Strange game. Now when I saw that, and I already knew that Life is Strange 2 wasn't going to be a direct sequel, we weren't going to have Chloe again, we weren't going to dive into that world again, it was going to be new characters and new adventures. So when I saw that initially, I was like, okay, here's the new game. Well, they showed us more of the same trailer again, but then they actually came out and said that it's not Life is Strange 2, it's not the actual sequel, it is its own spin-off game in the same universe, and it's actually going to be free on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. I wish there was a Switch version. There's no reason why this game couldn't be on the Switch, but it is what it is, and it's actually free. I don't see why they made it free. I'm happy for it to be. I'm not going to complain. I would have easily paid $5-10 for this if they wanted to make it that price, even if it was only a couple hours long, because I loved Life is Strange, such a great video game. A cinematic trailer for Dragon Quest XI. This is a game that is coming to the Switch. They only announced it in this event on PlayStation 4, but there's been strong talk and rumors of it coming to Switch. The trailer looked really great. Dragon Quest is obviously awesome. Same sort of characters as Dragon Ball Z, so I've always loved the franchise, and I'm excited to play a new game. We didn't see any gameplay, but this was a fresh look at something new during this event, which was few and far between, unfortunately. There was a couple of new IPs. The first one is called Babylon's Fall, and it's made by Platinum Games. Like the Bayonetta series, they also made Wonderful 101 on Wii U, and a bunch of others. They made a ton of games. It looks like an epic fantasy action experience with a lot of dark and gritty fantasy combat. So it was nice to see that new IP, as well as another one called The Quiet Man, which is just the strangest name for a game. I don't know how I feel about that. The trailer was very unique. What I got from it is that it seems like it's going to be a mix of live action and then gameplay and then cuts back to live action. I'm not sure if that's what it's going to actually be, but that's what they made it look like. When I first saw it, I was actually getting the Bouncer vibes. I was kind of hoping it was a sequel to that game, The Bouncer, which actually I think is a Capcom game, but at the time I was like, maybe that's what this is. An old school beat 'em up style game brought back to life, but it's a new IP, hopefully a new beat 'em up style game. You know, I love my beat 'em ups. I just don't know how I feel about the name, and it looks strange, but you know, I'll try it. I'll try anything once. And then they showed that same Kingdom Hearts trailer, cut it off, and then went home. That was like, there was nothing after that. It was just dead silent. The ending was really uneventful, unfortunately. It's seeing that same, just something different, a different look at the game, a remixed trailer, a little bit extra gameplay, a little extra scene, something that we hadn't already seen during Microsoft's event. I just found it so strange that they said stick around to the end, but then the end didn't have anything new or anything exciting other than the same thing we'd already seen. And I mean, don't get me wrong. I love Kingdom Hearts, and I was happy to see that trailer a second time. But no Final Fantasy was just kind of strange to me. I hope we see it in Sony's, but I feel like if we were going to, they would have said in their event at some point, like right at the end maybe, and pay attention to Sony's event later today where we'll be showing some Final Fantasy news. And they could have just said Final Fantasy. They didn't have to say 7. They didn't have to say 15 DLC. They could have just said Final Fantasy and put a pin in it and then watch later on today. I feel like they would have done that just so we knew it was coming. There are so many people hanging out just for that remake, and those are the people that are disappointed right now because they think they're not getting any news on it again for another year in a row. So if you are showing it in Sony's event, tell us you're showing it in Sony's event so people don't get upset. And if you're not showing it and another year is going by with no news on this game, what is happening in the development of this game that's taking so long? Is it a disaster? Is everything going wrong? Can you not make this game? What is going on with Final Fantasy VII? It's so mind-blowing. How many years has this been going on now? And just to show nothing, not even to say you're working on it still. It's very strange. Life is strange. Square Enix is strange. It's all very strange. I am hopeful we have to see it at Sony's. And if we do, I still think it's weird that they didn't tell us to keep an eye on Sony's, or just tell us that something is happening with it later on today. It's going to be very interesting during Sony's event, and I hope you join me for that. But I wouldn't use the word underwhelming. It's a word a lot of people are using right now, but it wasn't. It was exciting. It was great. Microsoft kind of stole their spotlight by showing off everything they had to show, apparently. Weird that they haven't had an event since 2015, and this year they were like, yeah, we're back, we have an event, we have all this stuff we want to show. Ruined the surprise by showing it all already. I'm glad they had an event. I love Square Enix. I love what they're doing right now, and they did show a few new things, a couple of new IPs that we saw a little bit of. It was just kind of seeing the same stuff and then being told to wait till the end with nothing at the end, nothing new at the end. It was kind of weird, but not disappointing. I absolutely adored it. This year is still insane. I've said it before, but everyone is bringing out their big guns. Ubisoft, Nintendo, and Sony, that's all that's left. I'm still live streaming the whole thing. I'm still running on no sleep, and I'm still just as excited. This has been an amazing weekend so far, and thank you all for joining me with it. And I hope you had a great time in Square Enix's event, like I did. I had a great time. I loved it. I felt like I was re-watching something I already saw, but then I've seen Back to the Future 35 times, and that never gets old either. If you love something, it's great every time. I love Kingdom Hearts, and I love Square Enix. I can't wait to sleep. I know I keep saying it, but after Nintendo's event and I filmed that, I'm going to bed, and I'm not waking up for a week. I'm not waking up until Too Many Games. I'm going to Too Many Games, a convention in Philadelphia. If you are in the area, you want to come meet me, the 22nd of this month, I'll be in Philadelphia in Too Many Games. Come hang out. I'm literally sleeping after the Nintendo event until then. I feel like I'm getting sick. I'm out. We start with Tomb Raider. We'd already seen that too, which made that a little underwhelming. We saw some gameplay, which actually highlighted a lot of the cool new mechanics the game has, so that's awesome, and I do look forward to that game. The event was awesome. It was a jam-packed 30 minutes with some of their best stuff. Wait, there was no Final Fantasy VII remake! Wait a second! What?